Hi, this is Dara. I'm a gender therapist in Colorado, and this is one of my videos where I answer questions from you that are on your mind about being transgender or trying to figure out your gender identity in general. So, what I'm going to talk about today is gender identity and sexual orientation. I have had this question come in a lot recently, so therefore I felt like it must be something that's on a lot of your minds. So first and foremost, I think many of you know this, but in case you want to share this video with somebody else who needs to understand this, gender identity and sexual orientation are two separate things. It doesn't mean that one can't affect the other or influence the other, but when we're talking about it, they are separate. So for instance, somebody who is talking about someone's gender identity, sometimes I've heard people slip into then saying they are exploring their sexuality. And then they'll go back to them talking about their gender, and then they'll say, so I guess they're trying to still figure out their sexual orientation, mixing up the words gender and sexuality or sexual. So the easiest rule of thumb is just don't use both of those within the same sentence if you're not talking about both of those things. If you're talking about someone who's trying to figure out their own gender identity and they're trying to figure out their sexual orientation, then you can do that. Otherwise, two completely different conversations. However, now let's get into what a couple of the specific questions are that I've gotten. For instance, one of the folks that wrote to me said that he identifies as a trans man. He said F to M, which is female to male. So for him, he's trying to figure out what does that mean for his sexual orientation if he is attracted to girls. So first and foremost, what I want to say is that it's up to you. You get to pick whatever description you want for how you want to describe your sexual orientation. If you feel like you're a straight guy, then that's what you are. You're heterosexual. You're a straight guy. If you feel like because the fact that you are trans is a big part of your identity as a whole, and it feels weird to you to just go to say that blanket statement that you're a straight guy, then sure, you might want to include that. But in this person's question, he was actually wondering if he's actually gay. He said, am I straight or am I gay? So in this case, it sounds like you're not necessarily comfortable saying that you're gay because you're a guy, you're attracted to girls, therefore this would mean that you are straight. So I can't reiterate often enough, though, that how much this is actually all up to you as an individual. What are you most comfortable saying about yourself? Okay, the next question came from someone who says she identifies as a transgender female, and the reason she is confused about her sexual orientation is because she dates guys in general, is what she says, but she will date a gay guy, a bisexual guy, a trans guy, a straight guy. She doesn't really care as long as they connect and that they're interested in each other. So she's wondering, does that mean I'm a straight female or am I both straight and a gay female? Especially because she will date gay guys as well. And so, again, it's totally up to you how you want to identify your own sexual orientation. But just for food for thought, you might want to look into what it means to be pansexual, polysexual, as well as maybe even looking up queer as a sexual orientation. So this means that you do not have to be restricted in terms of saying you're gay or straight or even bi. It sounds like there are a wide variety of, and it does sound specifically like it's somebody who would be more, maybe you say you date men, so maybe more masculine in their appearance, but however, whether or not this person is gay or straight or trans, you're open to that. So I think if you were to look into the definitions of pansexual, polysexual, and queer, you would probably find some connection with those types of people when you see the way they describe their dating experiences and relationship experiences. So that would be my suggestion for you. The next person is wondering so this person is now going to talk about how, so basically, this person feels more than likely that they are transgender male. And they're still confused though as to whether or not maybe they are just lesbian. I hear this happen so often, and I'm sure maybe some of you have experienced this as well, where perhaps as you're trying to figure out your gender identity, I call it like a way station, like it's like a train stop. You stop first of all on the sexual identity, stop of the route, and you're like, I wonder maybe if I'm gay. And so this would mean for somebody assigned male at birth to wonder if he's a gay male, or for someone assigned female at birth to wonder if they are a gay female. And a lot of times this is because the energy that is of the other, and I put that in quotes, the other gender, you can feel a lot of that. So for instance, somebody who is assigned male at birth feels a lot of feminine energy, femaleness, and they wonder then, does this mean I'm gay? Because I know a lot of gay guys who are really feminine, and again, this is all stereotypical, but it's what a lot of people know, and so it's what a lot of people think of, and it's actually maybe even more of a smaller jump to go there first and say, maybe this is who I am. Again, this would be for a female who's assigned, or someone who's assigned female at birth, who then feels a lot of maybe masculine energy or maleness within them, and they wonder, oh, does this actually mean I'm a lesbian? And so then they stop there at that stop, at that train stop for a little while. It could be few years even that they stay there and see, how does this feel to me? I'm identifying as gay, I'm identifying as lesbian. I wonder if this is the answer to my question. But what happens is that we're not even talking about who they're attracted to, if they are attracted to the same or same gender or the opposite gender or multitude of genders in between. So when it comes down to it, some people it is truly their answer that they are gay, but for other people, it's not. They can tell something still isn't fitting right with this. This is more than just my sexual orientation. This is my entire gender identity we're talking about. So I have had a lot of clients say that they spent a certain amount of their life identifying as gay, whether they were identified as a gay male or female, maybe even bisexual, maybe even pansexual, but still not being sure if that was the answer to their question or if it actually has more to do with their gender identity. So really the best answer for that is, if you're wondering that about yourself, you have to continue to explore. Even if because the thought's coming up in your head, that means there probably is something more there to look at. Maybe the answer isn't that you're completely gay or completely lesbian. Maybe there's more to it. So if you've started to think about that, my suggestion is that you separate the two apart from each other. Here's your sexual orientation, here's your gender identity, and really start asking yourself, okay, who am I attracted to? Who am I romantically interested in? Or am I even romantically interested in or attracted to anyone? You figure all that out over here, and then you go over here and you kind of look at, all right, so how do I feel in terms of my gender identity? Do I feel male? Do I feel female? Do I feel a mixture of both? Do I feel like I flow between both? Do I feel like neither? And then once you take a good look at the two together, then you bring them like this together. And then you can say, okay, here's this layer, and it fits together like a puzzle piece. And then you'll be able to figure out more of your answer to that question. It's very complicated. That's why it's important if you think about bringing it apart as two puzzle pieces and then bringing them together again to help you get to the bottom of your answer. The last question that I got in relation to this is actually from a mom who has a daughter who's a teenager, and she said that her teenager has come to her saying that she believes she is transgender. So it sounds like this is a teenager who was assigned female at birth who feels that she more than likely is actually male. So the mom was saying that if this turns out to be true, I'm completely supportive of my teenager. However, I think she might actually be gay, or maybe bi, or maybe curious. So she's kind of confused as to whether or not this really could be true, that her teenager is transgender. So really, I'm going to give some general information about this question. And basically, I would suggest let your teenager continue to explore this. That's really the best way to find out. Let your teenager know that you really want them to figure out what's going on, that you're supportive no matter what. and really encourage them to do different things to continue that gender identity part of their life. You didn't mention a lot about why you thought maybe your teenager was gay as opposed to transgender. And just like I've been talking about, that's something that people even themselves aren't sure of sometimes. So I can understand as a mom from the outside, it's a little confusing. So like I said, really the best thing to do is to let your teen continue to explore this, let them know that you're supportive. I would say that if things start getting into the area where your teenager would like to transition medically, which means starting hormone replacement therapy, also wanting to maybe get surgeries, or even if your teen is interested in changing over their pronouns, maybe changing their name, it would be a good idea probably to get them in with a gender therapist so that they can start talking about some of these issues. Changing their pronoun and changing their name, I mean, there's really not a lot of harm that can happen from that in terms of your teen being able to explore that to see how it makes them feel. It's a really good way for somebody to really get closer to figuring out, is this really who I am? I'm going to try it on for size and see how this works. The reason I mentioned the gender therapist would be, especially if there's medical steps that you're wanting to take, that gender therapist can help work together with you and your teenager, and then also bring in a doctor, a physician, who would be aware of teenagers who are transitioning and can talk to you about the medical side of things. So I've seen that happen a lot with my clients, where the part where I end up starting to see a teenager is when their parents know, wow, they really want to move forward with this in such a way that I want to make sure we have some outside advice. And again, it would really be so that I can connect them with the proper physician so that they can continue talking about that. So again, you can kind of take it one step at a time, but the most important thing is to let your teenager feel supported and encouraged, let them explore this. And then if it gets, to a point of needing to take some pretty big life-changing steps, then bring in the help of a therapist and of a doctor to continue that conversation together. So I know that can be a complicated subject. Hopefully that was able to help. If you have questions, you can go to my website, which is darahoffmanfox.com. There's a link there called Contact Me, and you can click on that and it will send me a form. Just remember, I'm more than likely not able to respond personally to emails with a lot of personal advice, but the whole point is I'm hoping that I see a lot of your questions and I will be able to answer them, because believe it or not, a lot of people are thinking about the same things that you are, and that gives me a chance to be able to help as many of you out as possible at the same time, which I think is awesome. So, and also one more thing to mention. If you hadn't heard, I'm working on a book, and it's called You and Your Gender Identity, A Guide to Discovery. It should be out in the spring of 2016. So if you want to make sure you are kept informed about it, you can sign up for my newsletter, which you can also do at my website at darahoffmanfox.com, and there's a thing on the right hand side where you can sign up for the newsletter. And if you scroll down a little bit further, there is my Facebook page, and you can like the Facebook page, and I'll put updates about it there too. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really am glad that you are interested in learning more about this, and I will see you again soon. Bye.